In today's French Pastry School demonstration, master pastry chef and co-founder of the school, Sébastien Canonne, is going to add a classic twist to the Baba with a lychee jellified brioche, grilled ruby red grapefruit, fleur de sel pine nut brittle, and raspberry lychee rose sorbet. The combination of the temperature of the room, the flour, and the milk should all be 54 degrees Celsius or 129 degrees Fahrenheit. The chef begins with the poolish starter. You'll need 10 grams of dry yeast, 50 grams of whole milk, and 60 grams of pastry flour. Mix the milk and the yeast and cover with the pastry flour. Let it ferment until cracks form on the surface of the flour. It's important not to move it during this process. Next, the chef prepares the brioche dough. You'll need 340 grams of bread flour, 40 grams of sucrose, 220 grams of whole eggs at room temperature, 8 grams of sea salt, and 200 grams of soft butter. Add the sucrose, bread flour, eggs, and salt to the poolish and mix on low speed until the dough is elastic and wraps around the hook. Add half of the butter in slow gear until it's well mixed. Then add the remaining butter while mixing in medium gear until well incorporated and shiny. The temperature of the dough should be at about 23 degrees Celsius or 73.4 degrees Fahrenheit. Place the dough in a bowl, dust with flour, and cover with plastic wrap before letting it rest in a warm place until it doubles. Then press out the first gases and place the dough in a refrigerator for at least 2 hours. After 2 hours, press out the second gases and let the dough rest in the refrigerator overnight. After it's rested overnight, you can shape the brioche. Place them in savarin buttered molds and lightly egg wash. Place the brioche in a proofer at 25 degrees Celsius until it again doubles in volume. Then bake in a convection oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 360 degrees Fahrenheit with the vent closed for the first part of the baking and the vent open for the last 3 to 5 minutes. As the dough finishes in the oven, the chef prepares the lychee jellified puree. You'll need 5 grams of gelatin sheets, 160 bloom, and 500 grams of capfruit lychee puree. Bloom the gelatin with 100 grams of the capfruit lychee puree with 10% sugar. Then melt the bloomed gelatin and add the remaining 400 grams of the capfruit lychee puree with 10% sugar at body temperature. When the brioche comes out of the oven, unmold it and soak immediately in the tempered lychee jellified puree. Cast the jelly and refrigerate. Now the chef will begin on the fleur de sel pine nut brittle. You'll need 40 grams of water, 200 grams of sucrose, a quarter of a bourbon vanilla bean, 5 grams of fleur de sel, 160 grams of glucose, 150 grams of pine nuts, 15 grams of 82% fat butter, and 3 grams of baking soda. Bring the water and the sucrose to boil. Add the glucose, the vanilla, and the salt and cook to 120 degrees Celsius or 248 degrees Fahrenheit. Add the pine nuts and cook to a light caramel color, and then add the butter and mix until well blended. You can then add the baking soda and again mix until well incorporated. Keep in mind the mix will double in volume. Pour the mixture on a silpat until set. To make the raspberry lychee rose pacojet sorbet, you will need 750 grams of cap fruit lychee, raspberry, and rose puree. Fill a pacojet beaker with the cap fruit lychee, raspberry, rose puree, cover and place in the blast freezer for 24 hours. When needed, process the number of portion wanted in the pacojet and cannel when needed. Moving on to the ruby red grapefruit, you'll need 40 grams of sucrose, 200 grams of freshly squeezed ruby red grapefruit juice, and 80 grams of 35% fat whipped cream. Caramelize the sucrose, add the warm ruby red grapefruit juice, and reduce to a demi-glaze consistency. The whipped cream and emulsify with a frother until it produces a foam. Now the chef will assemble the dessert. Cut the candied grapefruit peels and arrange them on a plate with the jellified brioche, grilled ruby red grapefruit segments, and fleur de sel pine nut brittle. Top with a cannelle of raspberry lychee rose sorbet and ruby red grapefruit beurre blanc sauce. And voila, a French pastry school masterpiece.